maximize every opportunity so that you can become legendary.
What adjustments can you make right now to make yourself 1%
Your only
better?
goal is to be the best version of you.
Ha, Brian, welcome to Becoming Legendary, man. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
It's good to see you face to face,
I
man.
know, it's been a while. So we just got done with a little bit of yoga practice and we're hanging out here. We figured we would do one of these and no guests this week.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit different, a throwback to the old days. There's a couple things that I want to hammer out that we've been doing on the Invisible Path side, where I started to, and I want to make sure that we get these out.
Yeah.
If you like the show, review the freaking thing, go to iTunes, write some nice things. That will be rad of you. We like that. And the second thing is, if you ever have questions for us, feel free to throw those our way, and we'll do our very, very best to attempt to possibly answer those.
Yeah. Hit us up on IG, on Facebook, on however you connect with us. If you have our phone number, you can text us too.
True. Don't text me. I won't get back to you. But we are, so I'll do a better job of putting our contact information in show notes going forward too. Trying to treat this a little bit more like it's a real thing. With that said, Brian, you've been out here all weekend. We've kind of just been kicking it, doing our fun thing. Yesterday, we spent pretty much the whole day in nature. So with that, like being behind you, that 24 hours of natureness, how are you feeling? Like what have you noticed?
I feel good. I feel a little tired today. My hips are a little bit sore. Yeah. I feel refreshed. We went up to the Pinyon Forest, right? The
Pinyon Mesa National Forest.
Pinyon Mesa National Forest. Thank you. And we spent a good chunk of the day out there. So, always going back to nature for me is an opportunity to. I'm looking at the microphone. I think I should be looking at you as I talk. Going back to nature for me is really all about connecting back to myself, right? I think nature is a reflection of yourself. You are nature. Nature is you. So for me, it's I have a busy mind. It's I don't know where that comes from, but it's there. And for me, nature allows the calming of the mind to set in without any other tools or techniques needed, like without a meditation, without a yoga practice, without ecstatic dance or whatever ways you want to move energy. That helps still my mind. Nature sort of just sucks it out of me, sucks the chitta out of me. Yeah, the mind stuff, and it's noticing the beauty, noticing the imperfections as well. I think that was a big takeaway for me yesterday. We didn't camp, but we hung out in an area where there was a lot of decaying forest, a lot of decaying wood, a lot of animals passing away, and at the same time, everything being birthed, right? New plants, new animals, new caterpillars. So it was this very good reminder of the duality that we live in. The positives and the negatives, the goods, the bads, the happy, the sads, the wrong, the rights, the death, the birth, all of that. And for me personally, the more that I can live in a space where I'm constantly reminded of the duality, of the polarity of this existence, the more connected I am to myself. Yeah. And hence to you. I mean, I felt a deep connection with you. I felt some of the egoic things that you just go through on a regular basis with a friend of yours. Your stories of your mind, the ego kind of jets up. That stuff melts away in nature, man. It's all about there's no maps out there. There's no GPS. Cell phones don't work. So it's you, yourself, your mind, and your instinct, your gut. So we traveled anonymously around the forest with no directions. And we were able to have conversations that I don't think you would normally have on a normal day.
Yeah. So I want to that part where you kind of wrapped up and you said we've traveled without path through the forest. I was kind of thinking about that and how, because that can be, there's a couple of things I'll work back into. That can be scary for a lot of people, right? Is to leave the path. And to be fair, where we were, the only paths that were there were game trails anyway.
Yeah.
So there was not a lot of human action happening. But when you leave the path, there is something very different that is going on in your connection with nature, right? You're no longer playing with these parameters of human desire, where the other humans want you to go, and you're just into this wilderness space. And we were very, very safe. But
we were just kidding.
But I know that when people leave the path, it can be something that really creates some type of desire for safety within a lot of people. Yeah. And I was thinking about why I don't have that at all, and it comes from the fact that my dad would do this with us when we were young, right? He taught me this skill without intentionally teaching me this skill. And that's what's really interesting, right? So he would take us out and we'd just go, and I'm sure he likely knew pretty much where we were. But as a little kid, when you leave the path and you're reliant upon some type of supervisor figure to get you back, you pay a lot more attention to direction. Right. So from a little tiny child, like 8 years old, my sense of direction started to get honed really, really significantly. And it doesn't work the same way in cities. So that's the really interesting thing. I can get lost in cities really, really easy. I can't get lost in a forest. Like I always know, I don't know where we are, but I know we're gonna come up right where we need to be. And yesterday, like we came up. When we popped our head out, we were 10 feet away from the car. And it was just like, well, we're home. Yeah. We're home. Like I didn't know how long it was going to take us to get home. Yeah. But when we popped out and the car was right there, I was like, that worked out pretty good. And I realized that my dad didn't try to teach me this skill, but he did teach me this skill by taking me off the path. And it started to make me think a lot about, the amount of protective child rearing that's going on. Oh, yeah. And I don't have kids, so I'm the worst person. Like, do not take my advice on raising kids. I don't have kids. But I will say that when there's a little bit of fear in your upbringing, and I'm not saying fear of like your parents offering danger. I'm saying your dad just went off the path and you have to trust that this dude knows how to get you home. Your skill sets lift up a little bit and you start to think about taking care of yourself, even if that's not a conscious thing that's happening. And the more we bubble wrap little tiny children's lives, the less skills they're going to have in that capacity. So again, I have no kids. I'm the worst person offering child advice ever, but I was a kid once. And I think that's a really important thing to remember. You were a kid once too. And if you think that you were bubble wrapped, you weren't, because that's not the generation of parents that we lived in. The reason everyone in our age is bubble wrapping their kids is because their parents did it. And we always essentially revolt against whatever our parents did. So now we're creating this bubble wrapped society that when they get older, they're going to be lacking a lot of really valuable skills. And those are the skills that take care of you. So if you live in a city, right, like you want your children to know how to get around a city. Like that's a really important thing. So that was a thing that I noticed yesterday that I thought was really valuable. The other thing I want to circle back to, and maybe these are related, maybe they're not, but you said this thing where you said, hey, I have like a little bit of apprehension about being in the wilderness. Tears
were coming down my face.
where does that come from?
Let me dial it back just for a second. You made a good metaphor there. So you could take me to a city and I'm perfectly fine. Yeah. I can navigate myself perfectly.
Yeah.
Like I lived for 6 years in Manhattan and knew my way around like it was the forest for you. Yeah. so where does cities are more comfortable for me than forests. However, I feel more comfortable in a forest than I do a city.
Careful with your hand taps.
They'll
go right into that mic.
So the reason why that I felt that apprehension in the forest was a lot of reasons, really. I felt almost a feeling of abandonment, right? And meaning that I intentionally abandoned my life by walking into this forest and like abandoned my wife, abandoned my job. And I have my abandonment wound, if you will, goes back to my adoption, right? And then with my mother, or my birth mother, who left me on a doorstep of a monastery and said, peace out, she did it with all the love in her in her heart. That's the only thing she knew to do. Yeah. Right. But that abandonment piece is embedded in me. Yeah. I've been through a lot of therapies in my life, talking to other people. I think that's a really good resource. Don't be afraid to reach out to people when you need to. Yeah. And one of the therapists I was talking with said to me, can you go back to your 6-month-old self and can you look at that Brian who was left on that doorstep? Can you go back to how that made you feel? And it was a 6-month-old baby. You have no conception of feelings, emotions, thoughts, but inevitably there's an energetic thing that happens to you when the person who birthed you leaves you and walks away. Yeah. So at a very core level, I love adventure. I love to test myself or put myself in uncomfortable situations. So by going out into the forest, that's what it is for me. It's uncomfortable. This is going to sound really weird, but this is exactly how I felt in that moment. I felt as if I was like almost like spiraling down like a black hole with no way of getting out. But at the bottom of that black hole, it wasn't like a black hole where there was like nothing at the bottom. The bottom of that hole was juicy stuff, where it was like freedom and expression and connection and love. And so through the abandonment piece, through that feeling that I had in my body, started to evoke like the polar opposite of it, the love piece, the feeling of, Brian, you can still love that 6-month-old part of you who didn't receive that love that you so desperately needed. So if I can keep revisiting that part of my existence and showing tenderness and kindness and love and care for that, it allows the fear, the uncomfortableness to soften just a little bit. It's still there. We talked about this a little bit on one of our hikes. Like the intensity of the feelings for me are still there of my trauma issues. The intensity, but the duration with which they last is a lot less. Yeah. And in and amongst the forest that we were sitting in, when I looked up and Patrick could feel the sense of we needed to make eye contact at that point in time. That was all that was needed. And it was a gentle reminder that things are going to be okay. Like I never knew the story that your father led you out into the forest. If I would have known that going into our time in the forest together, I would have been a lot more relaxed. So thanks for sharing that with me. Yeah. You are a master of the forest, man. And it's a really beautiful thing to watch. I kind of lead after you, or lead behind you, and I mirror your movements. And there was a portion of that hike though that I lost you, that I couldn't see you for a long time. Yeah, down the big slope. and in amongst brush, like tall brush. I'm like, where are we going? Like, I have shorts on, dude. Hello. Like, you know what I mean? But this is the city coming out of me, right? Like anything that comes, like brushes my legs, I'm like, what is happening with that? Like, it's just, I need my shower. I came home and took a shower, as you know, after the forest. But the moment that we left each other, that was a really big time for me too, because although I was alone, quotation marks for the listeners out there who aren't watching the video, I was not alone. You're never alone, man.
Yeah.
I'm realizing that more and more as I go through this journey in my life, is I'm not alone.
Yeah.
The abandonment piece made me feel alone when I was younger. Like, I didn't feel I have anybody.
Yeah.
Like, my adopted parents gave me the most love I could ever have imagined. Yeah. But I still didn't feel it inside. My wife is the person that makes me feel the most love inside. But when I was in that forest, dude, I felt the love. I felt being alone, and then I saw a bird chirp, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I am the bird. The bird is me." And then I started to look around, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm not alone at all. I'm so close to everything. I'm so close to love. I'm so close to my heart right now. Yeah, I'm so close to that piece of abandonment that has left me so far long ago." So it was like all in a snap of a finger, man. This stuff is coming at me. Yeah, the forest is a big teacher for me. It's big medicine. Yeah. And I just have to, you kept asking me on the different trails. You're like, do you want to go back towards where we think the car is? Or you want to keep going? I was like, I didn't want to answer. Like, I just looked at you, and then you knew that was the okay to go, because the ego, my mind will quickly say no. But the more that I can give it that pause, the more that you can take a second to stop reacting to things, right? And then take a second and step back so you can come from a place of right action. Yeah. That's really profound.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that we just went, created this really beautiful opportunity where we found this half a mile long meadow that was just full of mule's ear flowers. And then there was this little tiny break. And then there was this giant section of penstemon flowers. And so it was like a half mile plus of just wildflowers. Yeah. And we'll probably both have that on our Instagrams if you want to see that, because it is amazing. And we would have never found that if we had gone straight line up, straight line back, right? So we just went, okay, that's kind of an opportunity to go right here. And we went right, and then this whole meadow opens up, and it was one of the most beautiful places that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of beautiful places. So that was, just allowing yourself to have a little bit of room for exploration, a little bit of freedom for abandonment or whatever it is. Yeah. When you're in the forest, you are never alone. Yeah. That's a real thing. If you pay attention, so everywhere we're going, I'm picking up on things. There were ladybugs everywhere. We saw a really fascinating, about 2.5-inch long, really big caterpillar. There were huge bumblebees flying around. There were butterflies. There were ants. There were huge carpenter ants. And that's not even getting into the microbes, right? Sure. Like the decay of the forest. The reason that forests are forests is because there is decay, right? The microbes feed the soil, and the soil feeds the plants, and then plants become these massive groupings of plants that are forests. But the decay, the dying of the leaves, the deciduousness of the leaves each year adds more and more nutrients to the soil. And it's why forests are so interesting. The forest we were in yesterday, the thing that I was thinking the most about is how young it was, because there wasn't a lot of decay. So we go about an hour east of us, and that's a mesa that Brian and I have both been on. It's Grand Mesa, just east of Palisade. And that forest has about a 2.5 plus leaf bed to it, 2.5 foot plus leaf bed to it. So when you're walking on kind of like sponges there. But the forest we were in maybe had a couple inches of leaf bed. And It's just the diameter of the trees is smaller, and the closeness, the spacing of the trees is wider, and it's much easier to transverse through. There is a little bit more shrubbery because of the canopies of the trees. They're just spaced out more. So we were walking through a lot of service berries, and we were walking through a lot of really interesting plants. There was some American vetch, wild rose bushes. That's a beautiful everywhere. Thing to see.
Yeah.
Wild lupine up there. Like it was a really fun time to be in such a young forest for me, because I've been up there many times, but I've really never really noticed how young it was until yesterday. So you're never alone in a forest.
Never.
And if you know how to get back, go off the path. But don't go off the path if you can't get back. So you can't blame me if you don't make it back.
And even like in your life, like if you can find ways to go off of your normal path, like that's kind of what this is bringing me around to, is the beauty of taking the stairs when the elevator is wide open. When you come around a corner and you need to go up 4 flights of stairs, and the elevator magically opens as if to welcome you into this little box, but the stairs are right there. Can you take 2 steps to your right and go up the stairs instead of taking the elevator? Why? 1, you get a good workout in. Number 2, it's different than what you normally do. And number 3, who knows who you're gonna meet on the stairs because the elevator was empty. So like there's just a multitude of things that you can go down. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is that the momentum, the path of your life is something you have to purposely take a step back and capture what's happening with the momentum. Like whether does this momentum serve you? Does this momentum feel right? Like do the conversations, people, places, situations that you've encountered, you find yourself in, are those feeling right? Right? Because of like the momentum that is carrying you through your life, or the momentum that's carrying you through the forest, if you can stop and decide to go a little bit of a different path, the world's going to open up to you. I can promise you that. It's done that for me. I wouldn't be here with Patrick sitting here right now having this conversation and being as close of friends as we're starting to develop and cultivate, is if I wouldn't have gone off the momentum of my life.
Yeah.
Right. The emergency, the trauma, the accident of my mother passing was not the stopping of the momentum that I needed to have happen. It wasn't. What I'm trying to say is that something can't happen to you. You have to make it happen. You have to consciously make it happen. So you can't sit back and relax and let the world come to you. You go make things happen into your own world, to develop your own world.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I think
absolutely.
We learned a big lesson yesterday. I did.
Yeah.
By forging your own path.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I learned lots of big lessons yesterday. While we're like really close to this subject, I want to bring up a topic that I've brought up with guests a few times, and everybody's been apprehensive to get into it.
Okay.
So,
oh boy.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So I want to, this is a complex conversation. So this may take us a few minutes to really work out all of the details, but I want to ask you if you think that free will exists.
Oh, wow. The older that I get, the more that I live. The answer for me is a no.
Free will doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
And why do you say that?
Because of where I'm at today in my life.
All right. So let me give you the first question that everyone is asking at home then.
Yeah.
Can you make choices? Well, we can
yes,
so put your hands out, right?
Yeah.
And then pick one.
My right hand.
All right, you made a choice. So you can make choices. Okay.
Yeah, you can in that way. So I look at free will as more of a bigger picture than I do as a microcosm. I think you can make decisions in the micro, like pick my right hand here, but I don't think you can make decisions in terms of your grand scheme of things, in terms of the the momentum or your eventual.
Okay, let me give you a scenario then. You are presented with 2 giant job opportunities.
Okay.
You're going to have to pick one.
Uh-huh.
Is that going to change the course of your life?
Yes, it will. But that decision doesn't that decision doesn't come from me. I don't believe. Like I believe the decision comes from spirit, or comes from an energy, a greater power that we don't quite understand yet.
Yeah.
So I think that like I'm here to serve a purpose. It's taken me a while to get to this purpose, but I'm here in the purpose now.
Yeah.
And so I made a lot of micro decisions in my life, intentionally trying to take myself away from my purpose. But I eventually ended up back here. I knew deep down in my heart the entire time that I was here. I'm here on this earth to help others, to serve others in truth. And what I mean by that is to take myself out of the picture, out of the equation, and do things for the sake of bettering other people.
Yeah.
Like that's not a decision that I've consciously made when I was born, I don't think, or when I was a teenager, and I went to college and to study business.
But did you make it at any point?
No, I didn't. It's in my heart. It's
how did you take the job?
I sat with it. I sat with both jobs. So I sat with yeah. So I sat with both opportunities. So as if I was going down a path, and the path split in two, right? That's what we're saying. We're job on the left, job on the right. I sat with both paths. And which path feels better? Which path keeps coming back up? Like which path, like you're not consciously saying like left is better than right without judgments or comments. You're just feeling into it. So the feeling into it, I feel like is driving the choice. Yeah. The choices are given to you. Like if you can become still, and meditation is a place in my life where I make a lot of decisions, where decisions come to me. I don't make them; they come to me.
Okay, so I think we're really close to a really important point, and I don't think this was not the path I expected to get to it through. So I think this is a fun way to explore it. Cool. So let's go back to 2 hands.
Yeah.
Make the decision.
I got it.
Okay. What was it?
Right.
Great. Where did that decision come from?
Habit.
Where'd your habit come from?
I'm right-handed.
Where'd your right-handedness come from?
Practice. Repetition. No.
There's no way, right? Because you could have, there's plenty of studies. Well, we'll get back. So there's plenty of studies of like always handing a child a fork in the left hand. It doesn't make them left-handed. But so what we end up doing is you've created an excuse for why you chose the right hand, which was habit. So it's a superficial layer, right? You have to peel back all the superficial layers. It doesn't matter the amount of excuses you make. You need to know where the thought arises from. And all of our thoughts, the way we make decisions, the way we have thoughts is they bubble up. And they bubble up from experiences we've collected.
Right.
But I don't think there's any distinction in choices. I don't think that because you chose right hand, choosing the right job as opposed to the left job is any different of a decision-making process. They bubble up from the exact same place. The source of thought and the source of decision is the same place. Whatever that is, it is the same place, no matter what thought is arising and no matter what decision is being made. The thing that is the important thing in understanding why free will doesn't exist is that thought bubble, that bubble of thought, that bubble of decision creates things for you. You don't have the choice of what bubbles up. You don't have the choice of choosing right or left. You choose right or left.
Right.
Whether it's because of your habits or because the right hand looked prettier than it doesn't matter why it happened. It matters where it bubbles from, right? So if you envision your mind as blank, whatever as soon as I said envision your mind as blank, something likely bubbled up. Where did that bubbling come from? And it came from your experiences. It came from your life. But you didn't choose your life. You didn't choose your parents. You didn't choose your DNA. You didn't choose the time you were born. You didn't choose the location you were born. You didn't choose the food and nutrients that were given to you pre-birth. You didn't choose the food and nutrients that were given to you post-birth for many, many, many years. And at that point, there is a destiny that has been, destiny is the wrong word.
Yeah.
There is an energetic container where thoughts and decisions are going to start to bubble up from. And it doesn't matter if it is right or left hand, or if it is, I'm going to get married or I'm not going to get married. I'm going to take this job or I'm not going to take this job. I'm going to live or I'm not going to live. They all come from the same place, from the simplest essence of thought and question to the most complex and harrowing decisions you can make. They all arise from a place of which you have no control. And that is a really fundamental thing in our lives that can allow for a lot of appreciation. It can allow for a lot of compassion, and it can allow for a lot of opportunity. Because it is not saying that because you have a specific set of circumstances that you've already experienced, you can't make decisions that will impact your future decisions. It is saying that the decisions that will arise within you are not of your control, because they are just gathered from the experiences that you've already had. And those are the only opportunities that you have to put forth a thought or a decision in the current moment that you exist in. So I've brought that up a few times. I love the fact that you said no. Like, I think you hit all the points, right? You just had wanted to have a distinction between these simple decisions and complex decisions. But the reality is, if you sweep it all away, if you wipe it all down and there's nothing left, and then you just say, what bubbles up next? You have no idea why that bubbles up. And you can't control what bubbles up. It just bubbles up. And then you're like, well, that's in the world now. At least it's in my head.
Yeah. You know, a lot of that stuff may come from our past karma, dude, past lives that we don't even know where they're coming from. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to find a source of where these thought bubbles are coming out, because I agree with you. I think they're all originating from the same place, in and of the same essence. But where does the essence come from? It might be even, you can peel it back even a further layer, right? And like in the past, whether or not you believe in past lives or not, that's a whole nother topic for discussion. But what I'm suggesting here is that you have some sort of soul, like karma that's delivered, because you are a soul, right? So it's delivered through that. So maybe those bubbles are coming up through past like experiences, like going down hundreds of thousands of millions of years ago. Who knows?
So I think you have to remove the word soul, because there's certainly a grouping of people who aren't going to use that word. Understood. But there is something that animates you, right? You are a physical being that has been animated. Sure. And there is an energy that lives in you and lives beyond you. And that's a really important thing too.
Label it as you want to, right? That's the essence of it. What you're saying,
right? Yeah. So I want to take that word out, but that's also fair. for the people who, I want to also offer a real life practical experiential component that really helped me understand the energy that is within you and that animates you, and how it is separate from you. So when you die, and yes, you're for sure going to, when you die, your hair and your fingernails and toenails will continue to grow for several weeks after you die. You are dead, but your body is continuing to grow. So there is for sure an energy that animates you, that resides within you, that is separate from you. And that piece of information for me was so profound and impactful. And it's for a lot of reasons, but that component really changed the way I thought of life. And I finally got it for the first time, where I really understood for the first time. There is a me that is separate from me.
Yeah.
And again, so that's a thing that people who follow a Buddhist mentality kind of take for granted. I've noticed is that they'll have a conversation with you and they'll be like, I understand that I am not my mind, I am not my body. And for a lot of people, me included, that was an immediate turn off to the conversation, because I thought, no, I am for sure my mind and my body. That is a biological fact that is existing within me right now. When I learned that there is a biological energy that lives within me after I have physically gone on, it changed the way I thought of that. And I understood at that point that there is some type of a separation. And that, I think, is a really important piece to understanding the complexity of whatever the heck is going on here.
That's exactly right.
So we have this. There is an energy. It may live on. The karmic component. So what I'm talking about with free will and karma are essentially the exact same idea, right? Is karma is a collection of experiences, essentially, and how they will impact your life. And this is the collection of experiences and how they directly impact your ability and placement in life. So even if we take out any woo-woo-ness and we just use kind of like the essence of both conversations, a very scientific and a very Eastern philosophical approach, there is a karmic expression that is happening on us as we go through life. And we are impacted by the music we listen to. We are impacted by the energy we're around. We are impacted by the people and how we talk about the people in our lives. We are impacted by our thoughts. Like, all of these things will impact us, whether you want to call it karma or you want to just lay it out as biologically as possible. They are the same thing. So to turn it back over to karma, hit me up.
The karma piece is something I'm starting to cultivate in my own life, understanding it or trying to understand it. Whether or not that's going to happen is a whole nother story. For me, there's parts of me that I can feel, that I can, well, not taste, but metaphorically taste inside of me, that the clearer that I get, the more still that I become, the more inner work that I do, the more conversations I have like this with someone like you, and the more uncomfortable situations I put myself in, the more layers that I peel back, I'm understanding that there are parts of me that I don't know where they came from. So that I don't know. I don't have another word to label it other than karma. That was born into this existence, my life right now, this physical nature, with stuff, with karma that just preceded my memory or my understanding. So, like the other day, I was having a conversation with somebody at work, and I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know why I know the exact thing to say to this person, but I know I know it's the right thing. And I said what I said to the person, and there was a softening of the experience. She was going through some difficulties with one of her partners, so there was a softening of that immediate relation of the immediate. It was an example that I had not experienced in my life, but I felt it inside my body. So it's like, and I would have that thought bubbled up because I was able to stuff cleared so much out of the way that those type of things can come up. right? There's no resistance anymore. That's my biggest explanation of what karma means for me. I don't know whether or not all beings, all the listeners out there believe in such things. But when I can't figure out myself and I can't put a circle around it and dot the I, or if you will, like then if it's not coming from me, where's it coming from? That's where I relate to karma is. My wife and I, Danielle, we've gone through some things in our life that together as a couple and through a relationship that I don't think either of us brought into this consciously, right? It was karmic stuff we're dealing with almost as a collective, as a couple. So I mean that we've seen some therapists around that as well, and it's really boils down to trusting what you feel, and whether or not your human brain, your ego can label it and really pinpoint it. That's not really the work. The work is to honor what comes up. That's my work, at least. Yeah. Because the more that I push down or sabotage or suffocate those type of feelings, then that's not riding the karmic train, if you will. That's like getting off of it at every other stop and questioning whether or not you want to go 2 steps down the road. Just like we were talking about before, like going into those uncomfortable paths that you just don't know where they lead. I don't know where my karma leads, but I know that the more work I do around it, the more work I do on myself, the stuff that I know comes from me, the more that my karma starts to open up and starts to become a free flowing river instead of just a blocked up river with a bunch of rocks in it. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's I don't know. I wish I had the key to unlock the door that could show us where all these thought bubbles come from. I don't know, but you're making me think even more about where mine come from, and wanting to pinpoint that even a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, you can pinpoint it. It's the subconscious, right? Yeah. So the challenge is it is inherently beyond your ability to be conscious of it.
That's true.
And because of that, we live a very specific existence. Yeah. And I think I'm happy that we kind of got to pull this out a little bit. Yeah. And I'm not sure why it's such a scary topic, but I think it's a really human topic. It's a really important topic. And it's a really compassionate topic to change the way you think about other humans and why they're doing things. Yeah. And the more compassion that you can offer, the better things really are.
I always talk to people about like when you're in a situation where someone comes at you from a direction that you weren't expecting, and it was not necessarily the nicest of things. Right. I always like to tell people or frame it this way. Like Danielle and I she works primarily through the computer. She works at home and she's never met any of her coworkers. She's dealing with all of these layers of resistance of what it means to truly communicate, right? There's no eye contact. There's no energetic feel like we're exchanging here. There's no nothing, there's no body language to read off of. You're just staring at like the torso up on a computer. We're all familiar with Zoom calls. So, and when someone comes at her with something that's in a negative light about the specifics of whatever she's working on, or maybe even about a color of a shirt Danielle's wearing or something, right? There's always, there's what I like to frame it as this to her is say, love, they're not doing those. She's not making those comments because of you, because of your red shirt, or because of the specific thing you added or left out of the work we're in. They're doing things because of their own filter, their own experiences, their own karma, their own subconscious. That's why they're doing things. It's not because of you. Yeah. So like that's offered me a softening of experiences where I come away thinking, what the heck just happened there? What did I do wrong? What is wrong with me? Right? It's nothing wrong with you. It's that's a figment of your imagination. So sometimes just allow people to be people. and you can just hold space for their subconscious without reacting to it, without playing into that game.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I got a question for you now.
All right.
How do you then decipher the decisions that you make in your life? Do you just roll along with the momentum, not questioning things, or is there a teeter totter? Is there a give and take for you?
Tell me.
No, I don't want to tell you. You answer.
No, finish that.
Because from my perspective, one of the things that I most admire about you is your ability to just go with the flow.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this yesterday,
Yeah.
Interestingly enough.
Interesting.
Decisions are really, really easy for me.
Yeah, I know that they are.
They're just, and it doesn't really matter all that much if it works out or not.
Yeah.
Because I know that if it doesn't work out, I'll have the opportunity to make another decision.
That could possibly make it work out, or whatever.
I mean,
it
will, right? Like
Right.
you will either die or you will make enough decisions to make it work out.
Yeah.
So I don't spend a lot of the time debating back and forth on things. It's probably a detriment in many situations. And I mean, it is a detriment in situations. Like there are things that I could do much quicker if I thought about them on the front end. But there are also a lot of lessons that I learned along the way by just doing things and then being like, well, you know, buddy, you screwed up a bunch of times. So here's where you are now. How are you going to get yourself out of this hole?
Yeah.
But I never feel like I can't get myself out of the hole. So I have no fear of making a bad decision because I know there's a decision in the future. So that makes making decisions A, really easy, and B, really fun.
Really fun.
And that's the way I live my life. My life has literally become making decisions to do the things that I want to do.
Sure.
And now I'm in a place where I really, 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 really enjoy every single thing I do. And people find that hard to believe. I was having a conversation with someone, and part of my days, every single day that I'm working on this project is I am packing up orders. So I am taking seeds that I've grown, I'm putting them in an envelope, I'm printing out a label, and I'm shipping them to somebody. And someone was trying to make a point about how my life isn't that wonderful because that's part of it. And the reality is I could make that not part of my life pretty darn easy. I've kept it in because I love it. Because doing a mindless task gives me an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours a day where I can just think. And how many people get the opportunity to spend 4 hours a day thinking? So if all I'm doing is taking one envelope, putting it inside another envelope, writing a name on it, my brain is using about 5% capacity. I have 95% capacity to think about things, to just appreciate the freaking life that's going on, to make myself laugh. And that is the most enjoyable part of my day. And maybe if you don't have a ton going on in your head, like you're not constantly trying to create the next crazy thing no one's ever heard of, that time might be horrible. But for me, it's the best part of my day, is the opportunity I get to think for 1 to 4 hours, maybe more. So decisions aren't bad. Doing monotonous things aren't bad. Like I love, but I also love no matter what I'm doing. That's not true. I've got to the point where the decisions I make only put me in a place where the things I do, I love. I'm loving doing them. So like when I was in Arizona, I loved being in Arizona. I enjoyed every aspect of being in Arizona. And then when I left Arizona, I don't tie myself back to like, oh, I loved all those things and I miss those things now. because those things aren't the things that I can love and appreciate now. My life now is not, I could, but it'd be a crazy person, fool Aaron, to run to the grocery store every day. I would go 3 times a day in Chandler, but now I go like 3 times a week. And I loved that life in Chandler that I had where I was in the middle of everything and I knew everyone. And now I'm in the middle of nowhere and I know no one, and I love it equally. I don't tie myself energetically back. And this is another thing that's really important to me are energetic anchors. And maybe you've heard me talk about them, maybe you haven't, but energetic anchors to me is this concept of things that people tie everything back to. So it's like one moment in time, and this one moment in time that is 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, becomes the thing that you blame on every other thing that happens in your life. And the reality is, once the thing happened, there was another thing, and there was another thing, and there was a thing every second, every millisecond. There was another thing that allowed you the opportunity to change your path. But if you decide that this one thing is going to be the one thing that dictates all the decisions in the future, it will be that thing. So if you can cut energetic anchors from your life, 1, you feel lighter, you feel freer, and 2, you think about trying to pull a sleigh forward and move into the future. If you're pulling all this weight from the past, it's going to be freaking hard work. The moment you cut that thing off, like moving forward is just easy. And I'm really, really good at cutting things off. Like it's just like, I don't have to dislike it. I loved being in Chandler. It was one of my favorite points of my life. And a lot of times it was my favorite point of my life. But I'm doing something different now and I don't miss it. Even though it was the most amazing experience. I'm never like, oh man, if I was only doing that again, because that's a thing I did. It's part of me now. It happened. And you can't not make it happen. So no one can take that experience away from you.
Thanks for that share, man.
Yeah.
I that's really beautiful. You have a remarkable ability to be present. To be present with every breath.
That makes life a lot better.
Every millisecond, dude, you're present. And when we spend time together, this is the first time we've spent time together significantly one-on-one, alone. And I was really looking forward to it.
Me too.
And it's been a journey into the present moment for me. I don't think you know how much you helped me. Help me appreciate life.
Cool.
Yeah, dude, it's really freaking cool. It's really freaking cool. And it started off of well, this particular weekend has been challenging because I'm not with my partner. My partner and I have some news on the way that we're going to share in the future that is really special. And I just feel like a deep, deep connection to her. And I've experienced that connection even more being gone. But you've helped me understand, dude, that life only exists in the present moment. It doesn't exist in the past. It doesn't exist in the future.
Yeah.
Those are figments of your imagination.
For sure.
That only exists now. And I'm mirror snapping here. That's it. That's all we have.
Quite literally, the past and the future are imagination.
They are.
Right? Like
they are quite literally.
That's one of the most interesting things.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
So the more that I've spent my time in the past or the future, I have a radar now that notices that. And the reason why that radar is so strong now, like the batteries are charged up and like goes on forever, is because of the amount of the people who I choose to spend my time with are focused on the present moment, in on every breath. And I think that's medicine, right? It's medicine for someone like myself who has always spent so much time in the past, in the future, previous points of my life. Always wanting something, always yearning for the past, whatever the situation would be. Like you, those energetic anchors, dude. That really stood out for me. My energetic anchors are now based on like what's going to happen within the framework of that day. And that's where I base my energetic anchors on. After that day is over, I close the book and close the turn the page and the next page of the day is open.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a constantly toggling back between thought patterns, between those conditionings, back to the present moment, back to my breath, back to the here and now. And I find it, I've observed you around here in your house and on your farm and your ranch. And there's a beauty. So my house at home, there's a place for everything. Like you walk in and if a pen is sitting on the table, that pen is going to be picked up by either my wife and I and put away in the pen drawer. Yeah. You're not like that around here. And there's a freedom in here that I feel, dude. The dude stuff is an old story I'm working through, but I feel a freedom in here that's not regimented by pen holders and fruit containers.
Yeah.
that I'm going to start to implement into my own life.
Cool.
I'm going to have spaces in my house that are just there to be.
Yeah.
I spend so much time trying to make things perfect on the outside so that I can be perfect on the inside. I have like this aesthetically like beautiful around me so that my inside can be beautiful. Dude, you're one of the most beautiful people I've ever met. And you walk in here and it's not my interpretation of what your inner beauty is. Does that make sense? There's no parallel to it. Yeah. but there's a beauty that you just shine bright. And so I really appreciate that. I appreciate the randomness of you.
Yeah. Pretty random.
But that's a quality that I'm guessing was not always there for you.
No, I think I've been pretty random.
Pretty random in your life? Okay. There were times in your life where you had to go to baseball practice every day, right? Then the randomness was taken out of your life because of the things and activities you were in. Or vitality. There was you had to be there at certain times, is what I'm trying to say.
No, there's a remarkable amount of freedom in my life now.
Yes.
Right? Like I have a Sunday morning and a Monday evening schedule, and everything else is pretty much, whatever arises in that time. Yeah. That is definitely true.
And that's a key point. Whatever arises in that time. So my days are going to be spent in the future planning my work day out and my work life, quote unquote, as I move into this management position. I am the manager, but as I move into that role and we open our center, the rest of my days are going to be random, dude. Well, some of the most profound experiences my wife and I have are random days when we will abandon our schedule, when we just say we're going to wake up. You know what we're going to do? We're going to go out to the mountain and we're with our dogs, and then we're going to figure it out from there. Yeah. But 9 times out of 10, those days trickle into be something beautiful, something memorable.
Yeah, for sure.
The randomness is something that cultivates present moment awareness, and it also cultivates a lot of love and joy, man. So I appreciate you sharing your love and joy with me this week.
Appreciate you, man. I think that is an interesting point. Randomness and decision making are very present moment activities.
They are.
I guess you could be worried about things in a decision. I get it. Yeah. People are worried about things when they're making decisions. But the moment of decision, right? The moment where a decision becomes clear is a very present moment piece. So that's a pretty cool thing. Maybe just make decisions all the time, and you'll always be in the present moment.
I guess so.
All right. I think we've shared enough. Any last thoughts in your end?
Should we go about should we explain our passion for the game of discs?
Yeah, tell people about disc golf.
Just go play some disc golf, man. It's a lot of fun.
Play some disc golf. It is fun.
And work on not being perfect. It's a metaphor for life. Like disc golf, every throw is different. So can you wake up and realize that every day is different? It doesn't have to be a repeat of yesterday.
Well, so just a real quick, I think this is really interesting. People with athletic skill, right? When you are in the moment of athletic skill, that is the zone, right? Like when you are playing and you are not thinking, everything is as easy as can be. So if you are someone who has a child and you're like thinking about making this child this remarkable athlete, the reality is developing an awareness of a mindfulness practice and a yoga practice, by the way, because physicality, when your child is 28, if they have the flexibility that they had when they were 7, they're going to be a superhuman. But also when you have the ability to clear your mind, right? Any athlete will know those times when things are just clicking and you're not thinking about anything other than how you're going to crush whatever you're going to do. It changes the whole world. So that ability to empty your mind, and empty your mind is a terrible word. I don't like that. But the ability to be in the ability to exist within that present moment and not be worrying about past failures and not be worrying about what could happen in future failures. When you can be in that present state and being athletic, you are a superhuman. There is nothing that can prevent you from being successful if you are a gifted athlete and you are outside of your head's concerns. Things are. So
you're unstoppable.
You are unstoppable. Yeah. So if you want to make an unstoppable athlete, get them in freaking yoga and get them in meditation. Start there instead of starting with complaining about the fact that they haven't gone out and practiced whatever sport they're going to do for 2 hours. I'm not a parent. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I was a child once.
We were both children. Yes. I love that, man. Go ahead and provide better even yet, better than having your child get on the yoga mat and start to stretch. Why don't you get on the mat and start to stretch first?
True.
Children learn by example.
True.
Just a thought.
All right, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Talk with y'all soon.
Much love.
Oh yeah. Check out show notes for our contact information.